Good morning. Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm Robert McNeely. Of course, this source, the #1 place for live political events here at home and abroad. And a big week for President Trump, not only celebrating St. Patrick's Day and welcoming, of course, the Taoiseach of Ireland, the Prime Minister of Japan yesterday, but it's also Barron Trump's birthday. Happy birthday, Barron, if you are watching this morning. As the president gearing up for the Commander-in-Chief Trophy presentation, that great Army-Navy tradition, and the 6 branches of the military, the academy, services, and those schools that pause for a moment to come together to celebrate America's game. That is, of course, football. I know some of you would disagree with me with our pastime of baseball, but we sure love the Fall Classic and the president to celebrate that great tradition later on today. But with cut number 1, we saw New York City of yesteryear. President Trump experiencing that as a child of the 1940s and a post-World War II baby. We once had these beaming cities that were safe, that were sound, that had common sense leadership, and not so long ago, people like Rudy Giuliani running that city. But a look back to the roaring 20s and a colorized version of what New York City once was. In essence, truly the MAGA doctrine summed up in common sense. It's not conservative nor liberal, but rather what was decent and polite society. President Trump experiencing that as a child, and with his education and his go-at-it attitude with business, and wanting to bring that back to the United States of America. And probably the most ridiculous attack launched by the left over the course of the last few years, that this president somehow does not have his own authority to help leave his landmark staple on the White House. This is, after all, an architect, a builder, a businessman who put his name on buildings and changed landscapes and skyscrapers from New York City to Chicago, all the way overseas as well, with some of the greatest businesses that have ever been established in that skyscraper world, including the world of golf as well. President Trump wants to do that with the new ballroom at approximately 9,000 square feet, will almost double the size of the executive mansion of the White House at 5,500 square feet. Here's an AI image of not only the beginning of the White House, which each president other than George Washington living at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in the federal city from 1800 on, especially since the turn of the century from the 19th to the 20th, presidents have laid their foundation and their landmark with this video. We are sure looking forward to that UFC fight that was showcased there in the AI imagery, and from the burning of the White House initially, Dolly Madison saving that from the British, the George Washington portrait that you see in the East Room, the very famous one, as the War of 1812 commenced on our soil as a very young nation, to the accidents that happened in the East Wing in the late 1920s, early 1930s, to the renovations that the Truman administration had to experience with the interior of the skeleton of the complex itself to save the White House, and then President Truman and his First Lady having to live there in the Blair House across the street for a period of time to remove the different apparatus, including the asbestos that was there at the time. So some history on the architecture of the White House, which is getting only better under this President of the United States. Also with three big wins this week, my home state, the prairie state of Illinois. President Trump with 3-0 in primary endorsements there. A very small Republican congressional delegation with cut number 3, that image of the president having success in those races. I'll share with you with 4 through 6, those 3 great congressmen fighting for the MAGA agenda. Cut number 4, it's Darren LaHood from Western Illinois, who is leading the way with the president in a number of different ways, having a big endorsement celebration and fundraiser in the Free Sunshine State of Florida with our friend Gary Rabine moving there recently, a former candidate for governor of Illinois. It seems as if the Illinois delegation moving to Florida. Mary Miller as well from Central Illinois and the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign in her District 15, fighting hard for common sense, family reforms, and a pro-America agenda unlike anyone else in Congress. Mike Bost as well from Southern Illinois, a big win for him. Congratulations to all 3, as it's a narrow majority right now, 218 to 213, with House leadership leading the way on the Save America Act, which is under debate right now in the United States Senate. Also breaking news this morning that the DHS candidate, Senator Mark Wayne Mullen from Oklahoma, on to the next step in the Senate vote for the entirety now, passing out of that hearing, and we'll replay some of that for you from this past week. Now we have some non-responsive allies, sadly, in this Operation Epic Fury. It's coming mostly from NATO and the Europeans, who want American help in that shield of security, as we provided in both great wars. Both number 7, President Trump making his comments known. I wonder what would happen if we finished off what's left of the Iranian terror state and let the countries that use it, we don't, be responsible for the so-called straight. That would get some non-responsive allies in gear and fast. President DJT, as we are now in day 35 of the Democrat shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security. Speaking with Mr. Producer early this morning regarding 3 hours or more in line right now at Atlanta, Hartsfield, Jackson. People are missing their flights, even though they're getting there for domestic flights very, very early and ahead of time. With cut number 8, President Trump stating that the Democrats' purposeful DHS shutdown is causing chaos at the airports. These lunatics are being totally unreasonable in their radical left asks. They are fully to blame and must pay a big price for the good of our country in the midterm elections. Make America great again. And although you can share criticism across the federal city of countless different elected officials, it's truly the Washington Democrats that are putting Americans in the crosshairs. Sadly, as they continue to defund DHS, push for transgender mutilation surgeries of minors, and also simply do not want citizens to have that full constitutional right of one resident, one vote, showing an ID. How many different times do we show an ID? Social Security, our passports, any of those documentations for countless different things right here at home. But they think that you aren't smart enough to obtain a so-called state ID. And Republicans and Democrats, independents and third party, all alike agree on this issue. It's time to pass that Save America Act. As the President of the United States hosting the Japanese Prime Minister yesterday at the White House and the Japanese delegation with cut number 9, in case you missed it.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's great to have you, and we have a very special person, just won a tremendous election in a record-setting fashion, so you have something in common. We have a very fine relationship, and we're going to be talking about trade and many other things. We've become friends, and I'm very proud of the job you've done. It's not easy.
Thank you for inviting me to the White House today.
Thank you.
I firmly believe that it is only you, Donald, who can achieve peace across the world. I look forward to having a discussion on how we can cooperate to make our two nations, both Japan and the United States, stronger and more prosperous.
Prime Minister Takachi with President Trump yesterday there at the White House as we await the Commander-in-Chief trophy presentation at the White House. We are grateful for you, the viewers here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Did you know we're all viewer supported? And we have great sponsors as well, but we rely on you to give you this unbridled access of your 45th and 47th Commander-in-Chief, the 50th Vice President of the United States, also the first and second ladies who aren't too shabby at directing and helping with domestic and foreign policy, especially when it comes to helping trafficked children and reclaiming those Russian and Ukrainian children displaced from that awful war. They're doing God's work. Also, the 119th Congress that has to put up with far-left radical Democrat shutdowns. It's all here for you, so that you can make up your own mind and watch the speeches in their entirety, the hearings, and have that true access that other networks do not give to you, the American people. RSBnetwork.com/donate. We are proud to be your go-to live resource, a live desk, a live rally network, and the #1 source for live political events right here at home. Again, RSBnetwork.com/donate. You may also send check or money order to 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344. It's the loveliest village on the plains, Auburn, Alabama, 36830. 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama, 36830. Thank you for your support of us here on the right side of history. Also, thank you to Mike Lindell and MyPillow.com/RSBN. Same promo code there. Call today, do not delay, for the mattress topper sale, 800-836-7566 for as low as $99.99. Yes, less than $100, you get the best in the business, made right here in America, plus free shipping. President Trump has said it a multitude of times, but it is true. Mike Lindell is the master marketer. And with things like My Coffee to My Pillow, also My Pillow 1.0 to the 2.0 to the My Slippers, 2,000 plus different options right there for you and available at mypillow.com/RSBN. Save big with code RSBN today. And we wish Mike well as he's pursuing the governor's mansion in Minnesota. And we know that we can have so many reforms in some of these states, especially those who ushered in Somali fraud and 19 billion plus that we know of thus far, a story that is not going away for Governor Walz and Attorney General Ellison and the squad in Congress that really seems to, sadly, hate the great MAGA agenda, which everyone can find a lane in 2026. What a gorgeous morning there. The Jefferson Memorial, a personal favorite of mine, right along the Potomac there in Washington, D.C. Not far from there, you can see those cherry blossoms and the gift that Japanese government bestowed upon us all those years ago. President Trump announcing that just yesterday with the Japanese Prime Minister that she is granting 250 new cherry blossom trees to be planted around the Washington Monument. How special is that? And something worth seeing as spring is about to begin in the nation's capital. And as that is happening today, in case you missed it, there's a clear difference between Republicans and Democrats, not in the traditional conservative and liberal sense, because they once agreed about government being the bedrock of public safety and American safety. In essence, it's why it exists. From the federal level to the state to local governance, it's about protecting the general welfare, the posterity, as mentioned in our founding documents, of the American people. They just disagreed how to get there back in the day. Now it's a clear difference that the Republicans are interested in public safety, whereas the Democrats will do anything they can to fight for the illegal alien and put them before the American citizen. A flashback Friday to the State of the Union and a clear message for the American people.
So tonight I'm inviting every legislator to join with my administration in reaffirming a fundamental principle. If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's great to have you. And we have a very special person, just won a tremendous election in a record-setting fashion. So we have something in common. We have a very fine relationship, and we're going to be talking about trade and many other things. We've become friends, and I'm very proud of the job you've done. It's not easy.
Thank you for inviting me to the White House today.
Thank you.
I firmly believe that it is only you, Donald, who can achieve peace across the world. I look forward to having a discussion on how we can cooperate to make our two nations, both Japan and the United States, stronger and more prosperous.
And with cut number 11, we have a force uniting together, and a joint statement released yesterday by the United Kingdom, France, and Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, and Japan on the Strait of Hormuz. This is coming from the United Kingdom directly. We condemn in the strongest terms recent attacks by Iran on unarmed commercial vessels in the Gulf, attacks on civilian infrastructure, including oil and gas installations, and the de facto closure of the Strait of Hormuz by Iranian forces. We express our deep concern about the escalating conflict, and we call on Iran to cease immediately its threats, laying of mines, drone and missile attacks, and other attempts to block the strait of commercial shipping, and to comply with the UN Security Council Resolution 2817. Freedom of navigation is a fundamental principle of international law, including under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Now, the effects of Iran's actions will be felt by people in all parts of the world, especially the most vulnerable. Consistent with the UNSC Resolution of 2817, we emphasize that such interference with international shipping and the disruption of global energy supply chains constitute a threat to international peace and security. In this regard, we call for an immediate comprehensive moratorium on attacks on civilian infrastructure, including oil and gas installations. We express our readiness to contribute to appropriate efforts to ensure safe passage through the strait. Now, we welcome the commitment of nations who are engaging in preparatory planning, and we welcome the International Energy Agency decision to authorize a coordinated release of strategic petroleum reserves. We will take other steps to stabilize energy markets, including working with certain producing nations to increase the output. Now, we will also work to provide support for the most affected nations, including the United Nations and the IFIs. Maritime security and freedom of navigation benefit all countries. We call on all states to respect international law and uphold the fundamental principles of international prosperity and security. And it's very important to note that the Iranians were doing this to commercial vessels long before even Operation Midnight Hammer of last summer. Thank you to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Save 10% off right now. Code RSBN10 site-wide. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. From antibiotics to antivirals, also ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue, NAD+, and much, much more. Make sure that you provide for you and yours. Stock up on that medicine cabinet. And this time of year, as we welcome in spring, we have the nasal sprays available. Also, cold and flu medicine like Tamiflu and emergency medical kits. You can take these on the road with you as well. No insurance, no red tape, no hassle, no problem at all, because it only takes a pharmaceutical note and a U.S. licensed doctor on the other end to review and ultimately ship that order back to you. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. 10% off right now with code RSBN10. Thank you for sponsoring us on the right side of history, and also angelpaste.com, the miracle cream that keeps on giving. 10% off right now with code RSBN. I love the original miracle cream. That's non-GMO, no chemicals. Also, the orange option, vitamin C infused to assist with collagen and simply keeping you very safe from the common cold. And these are great products because they are just that. Non-GMO, no chemicals, no mystery red dyes, blue dyes, numbers that you do not recognize, and names that you cannot pronounce. This is all natural. They also have that all-natural facial spray to paint the town red on the weekend. Go to angelpaste.com for 10% off now with code RSBN. And as we gear up for the Commander-in-Chief Trophy presentation just 1 hour from now, we're just going over this week of what's been happening in Washington, D.C., specifically where the president and the administration has been focused. And the VP hitting the road this week to Auburn Hills, Michigan, right outside of Detroit. And he has a take or two with cut number 12 on the midterm elections.
And what is really at stake in this election in November is fundamentally, we've done so much good and we've built so much, and we've been able to do a lot for the American people, but the Democrats threatened to take us straight back to where we were just a few short years ago. And we all know the economic statistics. We all know the fact that we felt it in our pockets, that everything from groceries to our home electricity bill was going up at a level that it hadn't gone up in 40 years under Joe Biden. But it's not just that. Because the American dream, my friends, as you all know, it's not just about going out and being able to buy something, as important as that is. It's not just about the economics, the dollars and cents, though of course we demand that our citizens become more prosperous. It's also about peace and security. It's about being safe in your own home. It's about what I think of as a classic American idea that just because you grew up in a poor family like mine doesn't mean you shouldn't be able to walk down the street in safety and security in your own country. And that is what Joe Biden and his leadership and Nancy Pelosi and all these clowns in Washington, that is the thing that they tried to take away the most from us. Where do you think the fentanyl that flooded our streets and killed hundreds of thousands of our citizens came from? It came from Joe Biden's wide open border. Where do you think the highest crime rates, the highest murder rates came from during that administration? They came from the fact that we went to war on the police rather than on the criminals who committed crimes. Where do you think the fact that we had elevated murder rates, not just in our big cities, but in our small towns, because we let in hundreds of thousands of violent criminals into the United States of America? So when I talk about the American dream, I mean, number one, that I want you to have a good job that pays you a good wage, that allows you to put food on the table, but also take a couple of nice vacations every year. But what I also mean is that we need to get the people who are making our cities less safe the hell out of our country and focus on American citizens first.
Thank you to Kalshi.com/RSBN for all of the big bets on music, sports, culture, the politics, and much, much more. Trending in the political market right now is that question: who will be that 2028 Republican nominee? Will it be Vice President J.D. Vance? Will it be Secretary of State Marco Rubio? Will someone else jump ahead on a ticket that is pretty much set to do extraordinarily well to continue this MAGA legacy? Trade on the most important events out there. Scan the QR code for Kalshi.com/RSBN. Also, in conjunction with Kalshi, you can actually use this next tool for all of your trades and bets, and that's with the Rumble Wallet, where free speech meets financial freedom. An exciting new program that Rumble has put out, and we really should support this amazing organization, given the fact that they fought for free speech online when people were being thrown off on countless different platforms, including the President of the United States. Remember, Donald Trump thrown off of Facebook, thrown off of Twitter before it was X, and ultimately Elon Musk acquiring that fine organization. With all of those changes that have happened, we have to put our trust and rely in something like a Rumble wallet to secure your peace and prosperity, because the simple fact is this: the big banks and the corporate entities can literally turn you off. It's happened to freedom-loving Americans all across the country, and you should be able to protect your assets so that they cannot turn you off in case they don't like what you're saying. It's all about the First Amendment, and it's all about having that ability to tip your creators in things outside of paper money. But with Tether Gold, Bitcoin, other cryptocurrencies, you're able to use those with the Rumble wallet, and you can find it now, download for free at the Google Play Store or even the App Store, or visit wallet.rumble.com to see what it's all about. Rumble deserves all of our support for fighting for that free speech, and now it's all about financial freedom where it matters. You could also tip your favorite content creators right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. So Rumble Wallet has a way of not only working for you, but also being able to assist Right Side Broadcasting Network and placing those bets at Kalshi.com. So a really good combo. Did you know the Rumble Wallet too? It cannot even break into itself. So Rumble has really set up quite a gift for you Be sure to download today. As we await the President of the United States and the trophy presentation beginning at 10:30, 1 hour from now, the Commander-in-Chief celebration. If you're just joining us, I'm Robert McNeely. We're going through what's been a big week at the White House, inside and outside of the federal city. In cut number 13, Vice President J.D. Vance focused on the revitalization of the auto industry right here at home.
But I want to talk a little bit just about what the President of the United States and the entire team has done with the auto industry in the great state of Michigan. I know we're not in an auto plant, but this is an economy that depends on American automobile manufacturers, and it's one of the things that I'm proudest of that we did. Because we inherited a country where Joe Biden and the Democrats were trying to wage war against our American automakers. They were creating thousands and thousands of pages of new regulations. They were going to war against American energy. They were trying to force every single person in this country to drive an electric vehicle until about 1 year and 2 months ago when Donald J. Trump came into the White House and said, you know what? We believe you ought to be able to drive whatever in the hell car you want in the United States of America because we want people to choose. So here's a statistic for you. In 2025, last year, new U.S. vehicle sales rose by 2.4%, which is the biggest jump in American-made automobiles since 2019, the last time Donald J. Trump was president. We've seen just in the last 6 months, we've seen the effects of our tax policy start to make its way into the Michigan automobile industry. You know, those working families tax cuts that Lee helped get passed and John James and so many of our great Michiganders helped make happen, that is real money in your pocket. And for our businesses, that means they can hire more, that means they can create more jobs, that means they can invest more in our great country. Those working families tax cuts mean no taxes on Social Security. If you like no taxes on Social Security, remember, Republicans made it happen in Congress. If you like no taxes on overtime, because we've got a lot of great overtime workers just here in this place, you ought to thank a Republican in Congress because congressional Republicans made no taxes on overtime happen, and Democrats fought us every single step of the way. And if you happen to believe that lowering taxes for people making less than $100,000 a year, and everybody else, by the way, is good policy, then again, we got to remember that it was congressional Republicans that made those victories happen. And I happen to believe, I'm fundamentally, I think a lot of you know this, I'm an optimist about this country. I think that we have great Democrats, great Republicans, great independents, but the Democrats in Washington, D.C. are a different breed from the Democrats that exist in most of the rest of the country. I was raised by two working-class Democrats. They were patriotic. My grandfather was a union steelworker for pretty much his entire life. I don't think he would understand the Democrat Party of Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, because they don't celebrate American victories. They don't vote for lower taxes for American workers. They don't seem to be happy when America is doing well. And fundamentally, the reason I'm here is to get us to remember, we've got an election, it seems like it's very far off. But the reality is, in just about 6 months, you're going to be asked to go to the polls, and you're going to be presented a question. Do you support the party that fights for fraud and illegal immigration, or do you support the Republican Party that fights for you, for lower taxes, and for good jobs right here in Michigan?
Thank you to Birch Gold Group for sponsoring us on the right side of history. You can text Trump to 989898. We have international disputes, inflation, a dollar going down, but fortunately gold up 700% in the last 2 decades. And with national debt and digital currency, so many of these challenges may affect how you diversify your 401k and your IRA and ultimately your income. With a never-ending list of reasons to acquire gold, silver, and tangible precious metals, it's time to go with the best in the business. It's Birch Gold Group. Get the free info kit at texting Trump to 989898. And this details exactly how IRAs and 401ks can be reconfigured into tangible gold, silver, precious metals, as we do live in some frightening times. But with that, there is opportunity to diversify and protect your savings. More than any other commodity on earth, gold thrives when world currencies tend to stumble, and the dollar right now having a lot of uncertainty. And that's why it's crucial in an unbalanced world to balance your checkbook appropriately and have a strategy to protect your savings. Now, see if holding gold in a tax-sheltered IRA or even 401k can help with all of that. Just text the word Trump to 989898. Get started today and do not delay. Diversify your savings with gold from the Birch Gold Group. And once you have your financial health in order, make sure that you protect your very vital health through allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Most people wait to the last minute and don't think about medications until they actually need them, and then it's too late. You're at home with the flu, you don't feel like doing anything. In fact, some flus can lead to being in the hospital. But when someone gets sick, a pharmacy can be closed. Your urgent care could have a line out the door. I saw so much of that in the last few weeks with the urgent care next to me. You're just scrambling to get the basics and you're not prepared. Well, you can do that with allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, getting you prepared with 10% off site-wide, from antibiotics to antivirals, ivermectin, mebendazole, hydrochloroquine, NAD+, methylene blue, and much, much more. There's a better way to handle it with getting rid of the red tape, the bureaucracy. And if you don't have insurance, there's no issue, no hassle, no problem. Simply a pharmaceutical note that a U.S. licensed doctor reviews and sends that order right back to your door. You go online, choose the medications, especially if you need nasal spray or Tamiflu, as we change the seasons here. And of course, those emergency medical kits for the road. The process is easy, simple, and convenient right there at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Now 10% off site-wide with code RSBN10. Thank you for sponsoring us on the right side of history, as we have had a big week of hearings and the global threat level analysis, both before the Senate and the House, an annual tradition that has lawmakers asking the questions of our intelligence agency and the Department of Justice, with Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, detailing all of the success with cut number 14 over the course of 15 months under this new administration.
Counter-narcotic mission can't be complete without state and local law enforcement. So we are embedding more task force officers across the country on the specific counter-narcotics mission. We've also stood up with our interagency partners in Tucson, Arizona, the Southern Border Intelligence Center, specifically on the counter-narcotic mission, so that we can utilize the Department of War and interagency capabilities on the law enforcement front. That's why we seized enough fentanyl in 2025 to kill 178 million Americans. That's a 31% increase year over year. And here's a statistic that everybody should be proud of. Opioid overdose deaths from last year dropped 20 points. 20 points from across the country. And in Oklahoma specifically, Senator, we seized enough kilograms of cocaine to include a 232% increase in the state of Oklahoma alone, and enough fentanyl to kill 500,000 Oklahomans. We can't do that unless we have great police partnerships, which has been a priority of mine, which is why I've embedded police officers here at headquarters from around the country to make sure we have that connectivity. And I've shortened the task force officer onboarding pipeline from 1 to 2 years to 90 days.
So much success there in the Department of Justice under Kash Patel's leadership at the FBI specifically. And in case you missed it, CIA Director John Ratcliffe joining these panels as well with opening remarks regarding counterterrorism efforts, espionage that can be declassified and explained, and of course updates on Operation Epic Fury.
Last year when I was here in my confirmation, I promised you all, and you had all asked for, a more aggressive CIA, one that was focused on core mission, getting back to the business of stealing secrets, to be able to provide our policymakers with a decisive strategic advantage that would allow and advance and contribute to foreign policy and national security successes. To the credit of the CIA workforce, the CIA has delivered. Some of those successes have been very public. As you mentioned, Senator, Operation Midnight Hammer, Operation Absolute Resolve, flawless military operations like that are hostage to a flawless intelligence picture. And the CIA, as you know from classified briefings, contributed in myriad ways to the success of that. But what I would say to you is those successes are just emblematic of the phenomenal progress and success really by every measure, every metric, every standard across every national security space with regard to the work of the CIA. Senator, you mentioned some of it in your opening. The increase of our asset stable and our human sources up by 25%, our FI collection across the board, our foreign intelligence collection up by 25% overall, and in important categories like China, for instance, up 100%. In areas like tech and AI, up 45%. On the counter-narcotics front, our operations up by 70%. And with regard to counterterrorism, those are classified numbers that I'll share with you in the classified portion of this hearing, but they're off the charts good.
I'm sure you've seen many stories about Joe Kent, his resignation. To his credit, if he could not support the agenda of the administration, it is right to do just that, resign. But there's two stories being told. One that is, according to Mr. Kent, not a threat from the Iranian regime. But as we see with cut number 16, John Ratcliffe, as the head of the CIA, specifying that the intelligence showed that Operation Epic Fury was needed to protect the American people from an imminent threat by this Iranian regime.
The head of the National Counterterrorism Center resigned, saying that Iran did not represent an imminent threat to the United States. Is there anything to indicate that Iran had ceased in its nuclear ambitions or in its desire to continue to build ballistic missiles capable of threatening American troops and allies in the Middle East?
Senator, no. In fact, the intelligence reflects the contrary.
So you disagree with Mr. Kent?
I do.
I would think any fair-minded assessment of the situation, even based on open sources, would reflect the danger the regime poses to.
Thank you to the sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, including AngelPaste.com, one of my favorites. Here's the original Miracle Cream. I use this every day to keep my skin glowing, and you should as well. Good for guys and gals. Also, the orange option, vitamin C infused. You know what's going into your body. You don't look at a plethora of ingredients that are unrecognizable or even chemicals that can be bad for you in the long run. Angel Paste does it the all-natural way, including a facial spray to help you paint the town red, whether it's that first date or that 50th wedding anniversary this weekend. AngelPaste.com. Put it as part of your repertoire, and 10% off right now with code RSBN. Scan that QR code there and go to a wonderful source that's Christian-owned. They hire veterans out of Spring, Texas, in the Houston Metroplex, right off of the Gulf of America. It's angelpaste.com/RSBN. Also, thank you to covepure.com/RSBN. We're fortunate to have so many great sponsors here focused on your health, whether that be financial or literal gut health. And this is the best in the entire reverse osmosis sphere. As you can see there, no larger than your coffee maker on your kitchen counter. What I love about covepure.com/RSBN, not only the $250 deal that they have going on right now, but the fact that if you rent, you don't have to have all the tubes, a plumber come over, cutting and drilling, and then ending up not getting your security deposit back as a result of putting a new system into the unit. Also, if you're a tea drinker, you have to wait, and it adds to your morning when you're steeping the tea on the countertop on the stove. you can immediately change the temperatures, hot, cold, or lukewarm, right there at covepier.com/RSBN, as you can see in the display on your screen. Also, BPAs, the fluoride, microplastics, pesticides, and agricultural runoff all go into the tap water, so drinking right from the tap can cause problems. Their reverse osmosis technology, known as Clearwave technology, removing 99.9% of those impurities. Also, JAMA Pediatrics putting out a frightening study recently that students drinking from the tap on a regular basis can lose up to 2 points or more in their IQ. We had all of that COVID learning loss. Let's not go backwards. Let's go to covepier.com/RSBN, protecting what matters most. Drink pure, live pure, clean air and clean water, especially. Everyone wants that. It's common sense. covepier.com/RSBN. As we cover the latest from the Trump White House and what we're celebrating in 45 minutes. The Commander-in-Chief trophy retained by Navy just last year. And this great tradition showcases the Army, the Navy, the Air Force in an annual trophy awarded to the winner of the football competition of these 3 United States military academies. In recent years, Navy being very successful, retaining it last year and in 2024, the Army victorious in 2023, and the Air Force succeeding in 2021 and 2022. So it goes back and forth here and there, but that 250th edition of the game in November last year was really a star-studded event, as President Trump was on hand to toss the coin and kick it on off for that game played in Maryland on an annual basis. So we look forward to this trophy celebration. President Trump loves it himself. He loves sports, and he loves the competition provided by these great men and women who selflessly sacrifice to serve in uniform this great nation. And speaking of service and a veteran herself, Tulsi Gabbard, the DNI director, with opening statements as part of this annual hearing on worldwide and domestic threats. Cut number 17, updates on Operation Epic Fury.
The IC assesses that Operation Epic Fury is advancing fundamental change in the region that began with Hamas's attack on Israel on October 7th, 2023, and continued with the 12-day war last year, resulting in weakening Iran and its proxies. The IC assesses the regime in Iran appears to be intact but largely degraded due to attacks on its leadership and military capabilities. Its conventional military power projection capabilities have largely been destroyed, leaving limited options. Iran's strategic position has been significantly degraded. The U.S.-led maximum pressure campaign and snapback of European sanctions added additional pressure to an already bleak Iranian economy, resulting in mass protests earlier this year that Tehran suppressed by killing thousands of protesters. Even if the regime remains intact, the IC assesses that internal tensions are likely to increase as Iran's economy worsens. Even so, Iran and its proxies continue to attack U.S. and allied interests in the Middle East. The IC assesses that if a hostile regime survives, it will likely seek to begin a years-long effort to rebuild its military, missiles, and UAV forces. Prior to Operation Epic Fury, the IC assesses Iran was trying to recover from the severe damage to its nuclear infrastructure sustained during the 12-day war and continued to refuse to comply with its nuclear obligations with the IAEA, refusing them access to key.
Senator Cotton from the great state of Arkansas also opening the worldwide threat assessment hearing in the United States Senate this week with some of his thoughts on what's happening domestically and abroad.
I want to make 2 basic points this morning. First, the world is always a dangerous place, especially for America. But thanks to your agencies and President Trump's leadership, the world isn't quite as dangerous for Americans as it was a year ago. Thanks to the efforts of our military and intelligence personnel, including my fellow Arkansans who are now serving in the Middle East, the Iranian revolutionary regime that terrorized the world for 47 years is finally knocked on its back foot. Last summer, we devastated Iran's nuclear facilities. In recent weeks, we've eliminated Iran's top leadership, pummeled its military, sunk its navy, destroyed its missiles, neutered its proxies, and left its economy reeling. After 47 years of indecision and timidity, America has finally put our foot down. I'm also pleased to report that things have improved a lot in our own backyard now that Venezuela's illegitimate communist dictator, Nicolas Maduro, is rotting in a New York prison. Only the United States could execute a military and intelligence operation of this difficulty without a single American life lost. Our military is awesome, but these operations wouldn't have succeeded, and they probably wouldn't have even been tried without timely, accurate, and fact-based intelligence from your agencies. These successful operations are a testament to our intelligence professionals' ability to expose and uncover critical details about America's enemies. So let this be a warning to those who wish America harm. We leave no stone unturned, and there's no one or no thing close to you that might not.
And really a job well done by all of the leadership in those agencies. Senator Cotton there, a veteran himself, so someone who definitely knew a thing or two about worldwide threats and dealing with radical Islamic terrorism, as some seem to have forgotten about what took place all those years ago in New York City leading up to this moment. Finally, 47 years after the fact of this regime taking power, they were responsible for hundreds of Marines' deaths in Beirut back in 1983, at least 47 Americans that we know of in the October 7th attacks in Israel. So we're watching all of this very closely as we continue to have this dialogue and discussion right here at home. Senator Lankford also had the opportunity in another hearing to introduce his fellow Oklahoman, Senator Mullen, who has now passed out of the committee into the entirety of the Senate for a vote to be the next DHS secretary, and Mr. Lankford having glowing words for Mr. Mullen.
Thank you. Mark Wayne, proud that you're here. I get the honor of getting a chance to be able to recognize and introduce my friend, Mark Wayne Mullen, my fellow senator from the state of Oklahoma, and somebody that I've seen work incredibly hard to be ready for every single task you've ever taken on, and to be able to not only do it, but do it well. There are a lot of folks that think they know you. I actually get to know you, and have had the opportunity to be able to serve beside you for now over a decade, and have seen your tenacity and your work effort. Folks may not know that the first time we really got to know each other, ironically enough, was around a natural disaster, a FEMA event. It was Briarwood Elementary in 2013 when a tornado came right through the heart of Oklahoma. You had literally just been elected a few weeks before that and had just taken the oath of office. The Oklahoma delegation all gathered together at the very tragic event there at Briarwood Elementary. And while we were meeting with the principal and meeting with teachers and families and walking through the debris field that was that elementary school, we turned around to be able to look for Mark Wayne, and for a minute we couldn't find him because in one of the debris piles there was water shooting out of the middle of it, and his plumber instinct said, I got to go find that and figure out how to solve that. And so while everyone else was shaking hands and meeting people, he was digging through the debris field to find a way to be able to shut off the water that was shooting through the middle of that destroyed elementary school. And I remember smiling and thinking, he's a guy that doesn't mind getting his hands dirty to actually go solve the problem. Where there's a problem he can solve, he's going to do whatever it takes to actually solve it. Mark Wayne grew up in a very small town in far eastern Oklahoma, ironically named Westville, in the easternmost part of Oklahoma. Just 1,300 people call Westville home. He grew up in a family of modest means. I think that'd be safe to be able to say. The youngest of 7 children in a family that just didn't have much. His dad ran a very small plumbing company that then Mark Wayne took on and grew into being one of the largest plumbing companies in the entire state. He married his high school sweetheart, one of the smartest things he ever did, at just 20 years old. And he and Christy have developed a family that is a beautiful family of 3 children they had naturally and 3 children they chose that they adopted and took them in. It is a remarkable family and a remarkable success that you have actually led through a lot of hard work and a lot of love and tenacity. He is a person of faith that is not afraid to be able to talk about his faith in Jesus Christ, but he's also a person who has deep respect for all people. Mark Wayne has served in Congress for 14 years, 11 years in the House of Representatives, 3 here in the Senate. He's passed legislation that he will now be charged with actually implementing it in the order that was actually passed. He served on the Appropriations Committee here. He's served on Armed Services. He's served on the Help Committee here, and he's done an incredible job in the work that he's done with Indian Affairs. He is somebody who has the rare gift of bringing people together on both sides of the aisle. And the one thing I would say to every single person on this dais, regardless if you're a Republican or Democrat, if you want to sit down and talk about an issue, he's glad to be able to talk about it and to be able to work it out, and has very good relationships in the House and in the Senate. And he is not afraid to ask questions when he doesn't know the answer and to be able to research things. He and I have often talked about being up late, both of us, working on researching through an issue to try to be able to learn more about it, because the crazy thing about being in Congress is you don't know everything. You got to do the work. And Mark Wayne is not afraid to do the work. Over the past year and a few months, we've seen incredible progress on our southern border. Our southern border 18 months ago, I think we forget what it looked like. 12,000 people a day illegally crossing our border, just being waved in. No vetting, no background checks, 12,000 people a day. That is not happening anymore. Our numbers are down on the southwest border 96%. So you walk into an agency that has finally restored some order to our southern border, but there's a lot of work still to do with FEMA, with other areas of Homeland Security, and a very large agency with 250,000 people that are actually under your leadership there. So I'm confident that you'll be able to take those things on. Not only am I confident, the National Border Patrol Council has already sent a letter in strong support here. And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask unanimous consent to insert to the record the National Border Patrol Council, their letter of support, leadership of the Cherokee Nation, their strong support, and then my fellow Senator Katie Britt has an opening statement who I'd like to also submit for the record with unanimous consent.
Without objection.
Thank you. This is a person that actually lives what we affectionately call in Oklahoma the Oklahoma Standard. That when hard things actually occur, you step up and you serve your neighbor, and you find ways to be able to help people to do the hard things that have to be done. So Mark Wayne, I appreciate your leadership. I appreciate your willingness to be able to step up in a season where DHS needs a leader to be able to step into that role and to be able to help our nation in so many different complicated areas, especially at a time when right now we can't even get funding to DHS. We've got to be able to have good, solid leadership there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you to Kalshi.com/RSBN for politics and music culture and more. It's all the trending political commentary and everything happening right here at home. Who will be that 2028 Republican nominee for president? Will it be the vice president? Will it be the Secretary of State? Will it be a United States senator, perhaps a governor, or someone else? It's a deep bench on the Republican side who are very young and very successful. Great resumes, especially throughout that cabinet of ours. So trade and bet on the most important questions facing America and our future. It's Kalshi.com/RSBN. Scan that QR code there now and take a few bets on what's happening in your neck of the woods. Also, Rumble Wallet, this great tool that you can actually use to trade and bet over at Kalshi, and also tip your favorite crypto creators with just that, whether it's the Tether Gold or Bitcoin or another crypto that you choose. You can tip us right here at RSBN with that, or another favorite podcast host, or the new media that is really relying on those dollars and cents outside of big corporate entities. So download for free the Google Play Store or the App Store. Now, Rumble really deserves our support because they were right there for all of us during the free speech battles. Not so long ago, President Trump thrown off of Facebook, thrown off of Twitter before it was acquired and became X by, of course, the great Elon Musk. So this is where free speech meets financial freedom, because the truth is that big banks and corporations can turn you off, shut down credit cards, delete accounts, as they have for influential Americans, simply for being on the right side of history. Visit wallet.rumble.com to learn more about Rumble Wallet. This wallet, really amazing, because not only can it protect your savings, your income, and precious values for your household, but Rumble itself cannot break into this wallet. That's how secure this is. Even the creator of the wallet cannot breach its security. So visit wallet.rumble.com, download for free today the Google Play Store, the App Store, and tip your favorite creators with crypto. Get ahead of the game in this new digital currency. Free speech meeting financial freedom at wallet.rumble.com. As we cover the latest from the Trump White House, the President of the United States to present Navy with the Commander-in-Chief Trophy once again, 30 minutes from now. In the meantime, we'll take a quick commercial break for further sponsors. Stick with us here on this Friday morning, March 20th, right here on the right side of history.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. In case you're just joining us, I'm Robert McNeely. A very happy Friday morning to you, as moments from now, the President to present Navy with their retainment of the Commander-in-Chief Trophy back during that great battle. 250 years celebrated with new uniforms there in the great state of Maryland, as President Trump tossed the coin for heads or tails to kick off what is an annual tradition, truly unlike any other in the fall celebrations of the greatest game out there, football. So we look forward to that celebration at 10:30 at the bottom of the hour. In the meantime, we're recapping what's happened this past week on Capitol Hill, at the White House, and throughout your federal city. Cut number 20, Senator Mullen, his opening statement. He has now been passed through the committee for a whole vote on the Senate to become the next Department of Homeland Security Secretary.
Ranking Member Peters, Chairman Paul, I do thank you for this opportunity. It is a humbling experience. A kid from Westville, Oklahoma, that grew up with a dad that worked hard. He set the work example for all of us. And all my families, and my siblings, we all work hard. And I'm proud of the family we have. But to say that a kid with a bad speech impediment would one day sit up here in front of you and be nominated to be the Secretary of Homeland, it was humbling enough to be selected by Oklahoma to be their U.S. representative when I didn't even know how to tie a tie. And 10 years later, to be able to be called a United States Senator and serve with all you guys. And I respect every one of you guys. I do. Regardless if I have an opinion about you or not, you were elected by your state, and I respect that. I may disagree with you, but I respect it, because we all make decisions based on two things: the way you're raised, which never changes, and our life experiences, which constantly change. For me, to be able to have the love of my life behind me, somebody I literally fell in love with in third grade, I knew I was going to marry her in 8th grade. She didn't know that yet. We had to work through that process. But at 18 years old, and I was 19, she agreed to marry me. I didn't have anything. I was on a wrestling scholarship, living in a dorm. She was cheering at Northeastern State University. I think she fell in love with my truck, because my truck was pretty cool. But the truth is, we didn't know what we didn't know, but we did know we loved each other. And I haven't been perfect. I apologize to her quite often and send her flowers all the time. But I still am humbled by the fact that we've got to enjoy this walk together. We've had God on our side and her right beside me. And to our 6 children who's been on this adventure with me, what an adventure it's been. We have a saying in our family, you're never going to change anything you're willing to tolerate. That's how we live our life, and that's how we move forward. And regardless of what's in front of us, we always take it on as a family. And I'm not scared of a challenge. I am scared of failure. And so I will work hard each day. I'll work hard to make the 280,000 employees at DHS with the 22 agencies that's underneath me proud. I'll show them somebody that no one will outwork. I'll work beside them every single day to not just secure a homeland, to bring peace of mind and confidence to the agency. My goal in 6 months is that we're not in the lead story every single day. My goal is for people to understand we're out there, we're protecting them, and we're working with them. My goal is to make every one of you guys proud. My goal for those that don't support me, regret not supporting me. But we have to get DHS funded. We have to. My friends, we have to set the partisan side down. And we have to realize that we're putting our homeland and the peace of mind at risk for the American people. Sometimes it's political theater, sometimes it's true differences. But what we do know is that we're playing with fire. We have 280,000 DHS employees right now that are on day 30 without pay, and they're still showing up every single day to do their job. That is a dedicated group of people. And we should all be proud of them. We should all be working together, and we should all be trying to fund them. So I pray, seriously, I pray that we can get past this. That once this hearing is over and once we go through this process, I get it. I get some of it's got to be political theater. I understand it. I've had to really pray about my attitude. But I will say, once it's over, I hope we can work together and get them funded. So when I walk in, if I'm fortunate enough to be confirmed, if I walk in as secretary, that these guys are ready to go to work day one. So God bless you. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you to covepeer.com/RSBN for protecting what matters most, your gut health, with the leader in reverse osmosis technologies. Their ClearWave technology, removing 99.9% of the impurities out of your drinking water. And with that tap comes dangers, from BPAs to microplastics, pesticides, agricultural runoff, and just simply even the taste that can be rather disgusting. JAMA Pediatrics doing a study where students, if drinking from the tap on a regular basis, are losing 2 or more points of their IQ. We had the COVID learning loss. We can't repeat that as a nation. But this convenient machine, no larger than your coffee maker on your kitchen counter, as you can see there on your screen, can provide you with great convenience, from getting hot water to cold water to something in between in a matter of moments. So if you like to steep tea and it makes your morning just a little bit longer as you rush out that door, then bypass all of the long lines in your kitchen and go to, as the model is showing there, how quickly you can get that hot water for your cup of tea. Also, if you happen to be renting, no need for some reverse osmosis systems with the tubes and the plumber and installing all these different pieces. What you see is what you get, very easy to assemble. and you don't have to worry about losing that security deposit as a result of just getting fresh, delicious, clean water. It's all about clean air, clean water, and Republicans, Democrats, independents alike can definitely agree on that. CovePure.com/RSBN leading the way for the cleanest water with their Clearwave technologies. Get $250 off there now. Scan that QR code or visit CovePure.com/RSBN. And also with health comes the things you need most in your medicine cabinet, 300 plus, in fact, with most people not thinking about medications until it's too late, until they have that severe cold, until they have the flu and the pharmacy is closed, urgent care is backed up, or you simply just cannot have the energy to get out of your house. You're scrambling for the basics and the prescriptions that you should have there with you. There's a better way to handle it all with no red tape, no hassle. If you don't have insurance, no problem at all. It's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. 10% off now with code RSBN10. You go online, choose the medications you're looking for, like antibiotics to antivirals, ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue, NAD+, nasal sprays to Tamiflu, and emergency medical kits. Millions of Americans rely on treatments for blood pressure and cholesterol, diabetes, infections, and much, much more. So no longer having to deal with the pharmaceutical lines, but these generic off-label opportunities right there delivered to you by a U.S. licensed doctor who reviews your order on the other end. 10% off site-wide right now on all your essentials. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Thank you for taking a moment to scan that QR code and visit their great site as we await the president to join the Navy today in the presentation of the Commander-in-Chief Trophy at the White House. We are recapping Senator Mullen's comments on a number of different issues from the Senate hearing earlier this week. As he mentioned, day 30 is when he testified of the DHS shutdown by Democrats on Capitol Hill. We're now at day 35, so make sure if you are traveling, get to the airport as early as you can. We're hearing at Hartsfield-Jackson that services us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, people are missing domestic flights, even if they're there 3+ hours early, regardless of the line that they're in. So get there early, make sure you do due diligence, and call and write your senator today if you can, and tell them to reopen and fund the Department of Homeland Security. It's immoral that our TSA agents are not being paid while being on the job. With cut number 21, Senator Mullen has goals not only for Homeland Security, but to bring this nation together. This is a big, big agency overseeing so much of our federal operations to keep the homeland safe.
And so I will work hard each day. I'll work hard to make the 280,000 employees at DHS with the 22 agencies that's underneath me proud. I'll show them somebody that no one will outwork. I'll work beside them every single day to not just secure a homeland, to bring peace of mind and confidence to the agency. My goal in 6 months is that we're not in the lead story every single day. My goal is for people to understand we're out there, we're protecting them, and we're working with them. My goal is to make every one of you guys proud. My goal for those that don't support me, regret not supporting me. But we have to get DHS funded. We have to. My friends, we have to set the partisan side down. And we have to realize that we're putting our homeland and the peace of mind at risk for the American people. Sometimes it's political theater, sometimes it's true differences. But what we do know is that we're playing with fire. We have 280,000 DHS employees right now that are on day 30 without pay, and they're still showing up every single day to do their job. That is a dedicated group of people. And we should all be proud of them. We should all be working together, and we should all be trying to fund them. So I pray, seriously, I pray that we can get past this. That once this hearing is over and once we go through this process, I get it. I get some of it's got to be political theater. I understand it. I've had to really pray about my attitude. But I will say, once it's over, I hope we can work together and get them funded. So when I walk in, if I'm fortunate enough to be confirmed, if I walk in as secretary, that these guys are ready to go to work day one.
And FEMA has been on the mind of countless Americans dating back to terrible tragedies that we have seen over the course of the last several decades, including Hurricane Katrina, where the agency really came under fire for a number of different reasons. But even in the Biden administration, how much failure had happened as this agency is sought to be reformed. And Senator Mullen had comments on that with cut number 22.
I'm going to walk in with a project going on with FEMA right now. Love to get your ideas and your thoughts. You're very familiar with this area and have great experience on it. What are your thoughts on how to be able to get FEMA into a better place so that people aren't waiting forever for a response?
FEMA was never designed to be the first responder. That's the states. FEMA was designed to be the assistance to the states when the disaster reaches certain levels, which we need to discuss those too, because I think some of the levels are unrealistic, especially Senator Hassan and I have talked about this, that sometimes in rural areas they're not able to meet those thresholds. But working with the state, allowing the state to have their emergency response, FEMA simply helping write checks and assuring that they have the capability and the manpower if need be. But for the FEMA to walk in like FBI walking on a crime scene and taking over, no one's going to care more about their backyard than the people that live there in that state. And I think there's a lot of good ideas. I've heard at meeting with so many of you all, there were so many great ideas on how to make FEMA work better. It's got a great mission. And I think people at FEMA want to do their job, but we can be more effective and be more direct and speed it up. Taking years to get reimbursed is not acceptable. Taking, honestly, months to get reimbursed is not acceptable. These small municipalities, they can't afford it. They don't have that tax base to do it. And they're already going through a struggling time, which means they're probably losing tax revenue, especially if it hits their town. So we've got a lot of work there. I do believe that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. That means we're going to look at each one of the 22 agencies that fall underneath DHS and say, how can we deliver the mission better for the American people?
That's great. That'd be a huge help.
And throughout the hearing, Senator Mullen stressed the importance of bipartisanship, something that we rarely see on Capitol Hill. As he said, there is some political theater with this and the process, but that he has the utmost respect for his fellow senators and that commitment to making a government for the people, by the people, work for all Americans, and of course, of the people, something highlighted by this great senator from Oklahoma.
I've been here 15 years. I've been through a lot of confirmation hearings. I've listened to a lot of nominees. I've heard a lot of introductions. If one of your first decisions as a nominee was to pick the person to introduce you, you couldn't have done a better job. I mean, the introduction from Senator Langford was probably one of the most genuine and heartfelt I've ever heard. And I will say your opening statement was probably one of the more genuine and heartfelt testimonies I've ever heard, if not the most. I'm looking behind you at the people who have come here to support you, your former colleagues in the House, Chairman Smith, a former Speaker of the House, Senator Britt. But I see Josh Gottheimer there. He's not a Republican member of the House. He's a Democrat. I've seen you interact with him trying to get some permitting reform. Please, briefly, because I want you to tell another story here yet, but just talk a little bit about your relationship with Josh and other members of the House.
You know, Josh and I, we may not always agree on every issue, but he's a friend. And our relationship started back in 2017 when he thought I was a staff member running a workout group, because I've been running a bipartisan workout group that started actually with Speaker Kevin McCarthy and Jason Smith 13 years ago. And I still do that to this day. When he came in 2017, Joe Kennedy, who is also a friend of mine, he approached him when I was on the House floor and asked him, why is a trainer in the gym on the House voting? And to which Joe Kennedy laughed and said, he's a member from Oklahoma. And after that, we became friends. In fact, our daughters are writing a book together about bipartisanship. But when Josh asked me to join a bipartisan group called No Labels, that's when we really started seeing that there's a lot of common ground that we can work together. Yeah, as I said in my opening statement, that we all make decisions based on how we're raised and our life experiences. And Josh and I was raised different, just like everybody on this dais is raised different than me, and we've had different life experiences. But we all believe in that flag right there behind you. And what I say is, as long as you love that flag as much as I do, and you're willing to die for that flag like I am, we can work together. We can set the differences aside, and we can work together. And Josh represents that too. Just for him being here, you guys know he's got a primary in New Jersey. He's not a senator, has 6 years. He's up every 2 years, and he's here. That's a friend that says, hey, my political differences are beside, I still like you. I cannot tell you how many members on the Democrat Party, which I love and respect and I understand the politics, have came up to me since this nomination and say, hey, I love you, but I'm running for this office, but I'm running for this office, but I'm up for re-election. I'd be killed in my state. In most cases, I would support you, but. And it drives me crazy, but when you see a real friend like that, run through fire for the guy.
Thank you to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Most people, they don't stock up on their medications and they need it when it's needed most, with a bad cold or flu, or when you don't have the energy to get out the door. And with urgent care lines or pharmacies closing doors, how can you afford to not be prepared in 2026? Save with code RSBN10, 10% off right now. And don't scramble to get those basic prescriptions, but rather reach out to a U.S. licensed doctor to review your order. This is all about convenience here at All Family Pharmacy, and receive that order back to your door from which you ordered. No insurance, no red tape, no hassles, no bureaucracy, simply life-saving, generic, off-label pharmaceuticals that you can rely on. Go online, choose from over 300, including antibiotics, antivirals, ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue, NAD+, nasal sprays, and Tamiflu as the weather is changing. Again, so much to rely on there at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can also travel with these emergency medical kits and these handy dandy off-label generics right there for you. 10% off right now, site-wide, code RSBN10. And to Birch Gold and financial freedom that can actually affect your health and your future in big ways. The dollar going down, gold going up over 700% over the course of the last 2 decades. So diversify your savings with gold and tangible metals like silver, as well as those hot commodities, by texting Trump to 989898. Diversify your IRA and 401k with gold, silver, and precious metals. These hot commodities can utilize your savings in a unique way. So get the free info kit now on gold and silver and metals. Text Trump to 989898. As yes, the dollar is going down sadly, with nearly $39 trillion of debt here in this country. It's smart to prioritize your savings with the commodities that do not change over thousands of years. They have stood the test of time. Gold going up, silver going up. Once again, you have to have the best in the business. It's Birch Gold Group by texting Trump to 989898. We are covering the latest from the Trump White House and the federal city, inside and outside of the Beltway. If there's a story you'd like to share with us as well, feedback at rsbn.tv. We love to cover and advocate for everyone here at the network, right, left, and center, although we'll always be on the right side, the correct side of history. And with bipartisanship striving for that, as Senator Mullen is doing, he continued in his hearing on sanctuary cities, which have brought so much pain, death, and despair to countless American cities. And this administration focused on securing the homeland with cut number 24.
Sir, it's been a difficult conversation that's been had with these sanctuary cities. As I said, going on, we don't get to choose which laws we enforce. As elected officials, you shouldn't choose which laws you enforce. We're not asking them to go out there and enforce immigration. We're just saying be good partners with us. If we've got to serve judicial warrants, let us go serve the judicial warrants. If you pull over somebody that's wanted, that's in the country illegally, and it's a municipality, we're saying just hold them. At least let us do a background check on them and see who they are. And working with the municipalities are going to be vitally important, but also you've got to take a look at if they're not willing to enforce federal law and work with us, then where's the taxpayer dollars going to? And ideally, I would like to go in there and talk to the mayors. I'd like to go in there and talk to the sheriffs, talk to the police chiefs, say, what is your concerns? How can we get past this? Because the president has made it very clear he wants to protect the streets for every American. He wants to restore law and order to every city. I don't think that should be controversial. Some people have for political purposes, or maybe they didn't like the tactics. Either way, I find it really hard to believe that law enforcement in those communities don't want to do their job. So maybe we sit down and we just work it out. It's like I tell my wife all the time. Sometimes when she gets mad at me, and I'm right, she's wrong, by the way, but sometimes when she gets mad at me, I have to apologize because I simply say, that was a joke, by the way, for everybody that's married. But I have to apologize, and sometimes I tell her, I said, honey, it's a misunderstanding. We still love each other. We still want the best for our family. And these law enforcement, and I would even say these mayors, they still love their community. They still love their cities. They still love this country. So maybe it's a misunderstanding we can work by. And I'm going to start with that. That's what I'm going to start with. If we have to do something different, then we will, but that's where I'm going to start at. It's a misunderstanding, but we're going to force the nation laws and make sure we protect everybody in their city and hopefully work with them and never work against them.
Such a strong and healthy reminder, whether it's public life or private life, just stepping back a moment, taking a breath, and trying to address those, or even putting yourselves in their shoes to understand what your opponent might be thinking, or even someone who's close to you, like a spouse. That's President Trump's whole philosophy of being a great deal maker. The idea that he wants to know how his adversary might be thinking. Not necessarily an enemy, but someone who's trying to get to an end goal just as he may be, especially from the world of business. It can help a lot in public life. And we do know that personal side of President Trump that he does not brag about, that he does not showcase, but we've heard countless stories now taking time out of his busy schedule. This from the first term in Bakersfield, California, and that of the district of former Speaker Kevin McCarthy, there present for Senator Mullen as a personal friend at the hearing. Cut number 25 showcasing the tender nature of President Trump as he loved on the senator's son, going through a terrible athletic accident that left the family reeling. This is the true character of Donald John Trump.
So my son was a really world-class athlete, and January 17th of 2020, which mind you was an election year, he had a really serious brain injury. Woke up 26 hours later, and he's a different kid. We almost lost him. For 26 hours, he had an extremely low pulse. There was a time they thought that they lost his pulse altogether. And when he woke up, he was just different. I mean, here he had a world-class athlete that wrestled all over the world since he was 12 years old, and he couldn't touch his nose. He couldn't walk without shuffling his feet. He had short-term memory loss. He couldn't control his muscles. Couldn't add 5 + 3. He was in high school at that time. Had to learn how to read, walk, everything. And the president found out about it, and he gave me a call immediately. And one thing that the president joked about was, like, he said, let me get this straight. He doesn't know who you and Christy are, but he knew who I was, because the only question you got right is who the president was. And he said, Trump, with his cocky grin on his face. And But the president didn't understand the severity of it, but he heard it in my voice, and immediately he went to work. I told him we had to get to Bakersfield, California, to the Center for Neural Skills, which is one of the best neural rehabilitation places in the world. And the president offered to send his plane, his personal plane. This is the president of the United States. And I said, sir, we can't fly. We got to drive. We get there, and he called almost every day for 2 weeks checking on Jim. And then he says, I'm going to come see him. And now this is the middle of the election. This is Bakersfield, California. Really not an area he's got to go campaign. And he took the time to come up there and see Jim. And the center told us that the short-term memory loss something would trigger it. Some big event would eventually trigger where he'd start retaining stuff. Until then, he was still having issues. And the president arrived, and of course there was cameras and everybody around, and of course none of the media ever talked about it, which was funny because the president called him on stage and talked to him. And then we went to the back, and the president didn't talk to me. He didn't know I was in, he didn't even care if I was in the room. Here's a guy that's been over in his ties about as long as my son, because my son, it stunted his growth, and so he's 5'3" the rest of his life. And his team came to him twice and said, sir, we got to go. We got to go. On the third time they came over to him, he looked at him and he says, hey, I guarantee you that plane won't leave without me. And for the next 15 minutes, he did nothing but love on my son. That one incident jogged his memory. And from then on, he started retaining things. And Jim's attitude went from this, we're going to get through it, to this, I'm going to get through it. And every week, if not most days, the president would call and ask how he could help. Ask how's his buddy doing? How's Jim doing? He didn't do it for publicity. He didn't do it for any show. He was running in one of the toughest elections he had been in, and the guy was still that concerned about my son. When we got released for a little bit, we had to go back. When we got released a little bit, the president said, come to Mar-a-Lago and see me. We go down there, and it's amazing. And when we're leaving, dang it, I hate getting emotional. See, if I talk about my kids, I get emotional. Other than that, you can't make me cry. But my kids do make me emotional.
That's actually a good thing.
Yeah. So anyways, he grabbed my son, and he said, do you know why I love your dad? Do you know why I love your dad? Chrissy tells the story better than I do. And he goes, no, sir. He goes, because he loves you. Because of you. Because of you. Man, he didn't do it for any other reason. I mean, here's the president of the United States, and he did it just because he cared. And so when you want to say why he's a friend, yeah, we were acquaintances before that. We've been friends ever since.
The American people need to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And some breaking news across the channels here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, reporting from Fox News that iconic actor and martial artist Chuck Norris has passed away. And according to a family statement, while our hearts are broken, we are deeply grateful for the life he lived and for the unforgettable moments we were blessed to share with him. And we echo that chorus of sympathy, thoughts, and prayers for the entire Norris family. Someone larger than life, someone who did not hide his feelings, and like Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, in a very serious but also humorous way, would tell you where he stood if you asked him. Someone who would break bread with just about everybody and made that feeling of Hollywood very, I think, relatable for his many fans. So our thoughts and prayers with Chuck Norris, who has passed away a long-lived, well-lived life. May he rest in God's perfect peace, as our thoughts and prayers are again with the entire Norris family. As we cover the latest from the White House and Capitol Hill, moments away, the Commander-in-Chief Trophy presentation from President Donald J. Trump to the naval midshipmen successful in that competition last November against the Army Black Knights, a great tradition between three military academies, the Air Force included in this, and their football programs. The Army and Navy getting quite good lately against a number of different teams in the new era of college football. Now on this bipartisan topic, Senator Fetterman joining Senator Mullen in praise with Cut 26, and the Commonwealth senator who is really, I think, every Republican's favorite Democrat as of late, will be throwing his support behind Senator Mullen to be the next Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security.
My experience with you has been consistent kindness and professionalism. You know, the first time I met, it was you and your wife behind you when I was here at the orientation here in the Senate. And even before you got the call for the big job, you know, we were even discussing about getting together and having dinner as family. So that's an ongoing relationship, because that's also part of the fact here in this town. You got to get along and find a way to work together. And now we have to come at it and just let things go in the past for that. Finding a way forward, that's my responsibility to represent Pennsylvania. And for you, I just want to thank you for showing up. And now I'm going to engage, and I'm going to remain with an open mind throughout all this as I made to my friend here. And I'm going to do that. So thank you for bringing your family here too. And I look forward to hearing for the rest of my colleagues' views on you.
Senator Joni Ernst of the great Hawkeye state of Iowa praising Oklahoma's finest, Senator Mullen, with cut number 27 as she prepares to leave the Senate.
I've been on a lot of congressional delegation visits, folks, a lot in the 12 years that I've been here. But to watch Senator Mullen lead this delegation and to be able to speak to someone that is far different than we are and bring our countries that closer together, I know that he will do that with every one of us serving in Congress. I know you will represent us very well. You will represent the administration very well. You will make our country safer. So thank you, Senator Mullen. Thank you, Christy, very much for your friendship as well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Bernie Moreno of the great Buckeye state of Ohio also joining in the praise of Senator Mullen.
It's not often that I get to ask questions for somebody who I've known for a long time, meaning in politics, 2.5 years is a long time. I've gotten to know you as a friend, as a colleague. I've seen you interact as a dad. I've seen you interact as a husband. And I just want the American people to know you're a good man.
Thank you.
That doesn't always go through all the political shenanigans. And maybe you're not going to replace Shakespeare as the next greatest orator on earth. You talk from the heart, and that's okay. You are who you are. You don't, and I think that's what you don't apologize for, is just being yourself. And sometimes we're imperfect. We don't do the 20-person focus group every time you say a word. And I think that's what people like about you, Mark Wayne. So I appreciate you being here. I honestly just have one question for you. Do you pledge to support and defend the United States of America nearly as much as you would protect and defend your family?
Without doubt, sir, yes.
So I'm going to ruin everything for the audience. You will be confirmed. You will have the job, and you're going to make this country safer and better. And for that, I thank you and thank your family for supporting you.
But the flowers and roses, sometimes they do not get watered in Washington, D.C. And we saw that with Senator Slotkin, cut number 29, and her raging Trump derangement syndrome. The great people, the Wolverine state of Michigan, deserve better than her shenanigans.
So I would just say, if we ever get to the point where you are being asked to put armed ICE officers at polling locations, we have lost the plot as a country. We have fundamentally lost it. And until I hear someone tell me that this man, President Trump, will actually allow us to have a free and fair election, there is zero trust here, and I cannot trust that he won't try and steal it again.
Remember, she was part of the 6 that told service members they don't have to listen to unlawful orders from the commander-in-chief under Article 2, but then could not back up what those unlawful orders were, including Senator Mark Kelly and Ruben Gallego, both of State 48 in Arizona out west. So really remarkable how some of them choose to skew things, especially people like Senator Adam Schiff. I think he taught everyone a masterclass on that when he saw the intelligence that never existed with Russia, Russia, Russia. And we're thankful for people like Congressman Devin Nunes, who revealed it and asked, wait, what exactly are you talking about, Adam? There's nothing we've been presented on this. And we've been seeing this Trump derangement syndrome ever since. But let not your heart be troubled. Upcoming, the President of the United States presenting the Commander-in-Chief Trophy to the Navy midshipmen. A fun one for this Friday, March 20th. Also breaking news across the channels, the White House announcing First Lady Melania Trump's 2026 Spring Garden Tour. This spring, the White House will open its historic gardens and grounds to visitors during the garden tours, an annual event. The grounds will be open on Saturday, April 18th from 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. and on Sunday, April 19th from 10 a.m. to 2:30. Visitors having the opportunity to explore the beauty of the South Lawn of the White House, as well as the Rose Garden and the White House Kitchen Garden. Each spring, the Garden of President's Park come into full bloom, offering vibrant colors and reflection of the natural beauty of the United States. This event is free, open to the public, and the National Park Service will distribute those tickets at a tent outside of the White House Visitor Center each day of the tours, beginning at 8:30. So the White House Visitor Center, located at 1450 Pennsylvania Avenue in the heart of the federal city, Washington, D.C. This is the intersection of 15th Street and East Street Northwest. East Street Northwest for you there. Tickets distributed one per person on a first-come, first-served basis. So if you happen to be in Washington, D.C. that weekend of April 18th and 19th, be sure to get in line early, right at 8:30, if not before, for all of those. And the standard prohibited items that you cannot travel with as well. Of course, things like ammunition, firearms, explosives, just common sense not to bring there for the tour, as you would not bring those onto a plane. Now, the Secret Service reserves the right to prohibit any other personal item. However, strollers, wheelchairs, umbrellas, and cameras permitted. So be sure to bring those iPhones or smartphones to take some pictures as well. Please identify all items upon arrival, and you can call the line for more questions. It's 202-456-7040. That's 202-456-7040 for the First Lady's Garden Tour there on the White House grounds. Americans agreeing, according to the White House, that Operation Epic Fury is an overwhelming success. Under the decisive leadership of President Trump, Operation Epic Fury delivering overwhelming, devastating success against the world's state sponsor of terrorism. In just 3 weeks, America's unmatched military has obliterated Iran's regime, their air and naval capabilities, demolishing its ballistic missile arsenal and production facilities, annihilating more than 7,000 targets and crippling its ability to fund and arm its terrorist proxies, roughly a dozen or so in the region. This is including Hamas and Hezbollah, who have wreaked terror and hell over innocent individuals across the Middle East and abroad. Despite a relentless campaign by the fake news and radical left media to manufacture tales of division, distract from the historic triumph, it is clear that the American people and President Trump's base stand firmly behind our warriors and their commander-in-chief as we accomplish the mission. Polling confirming just that. A Vandenberg Coalition Target Point stating that 94% of MAGA-aligned Americans and 84% of Republicans overall support Operation Epic Fury. NBC News, 90% of MAGA Republicans and nearly 80% of Republicans overall back the operation. CNN, 88% of MAGA Republicans, 77% of Republicans overall approving of the strikes, crushing the Iranian regime. The Economist and YouGov stating that 87% of MAGA Republicans and 81% of Republicans overall are in support of President Trump's handling of Iran. YouGov itself stating 85% of MAGA Republicans support the U.S. strikes on the Iranian regime. JL Partners, 83% of Republicans support Operation Epic Fury, with only 9% opposed. Broader American support remains solid amid the Iranian regime's long-standing aggression, and the Washington Post stating that a plurality of Americans back U.S. action against Iran, with the approval rising as victories mount. Rasmussen reports 67% say Operation Epic Fury has been successful so far. And Fox News, more than 6 in 10 Americans view the Iranian regime as a real national security threat. President Trump promised decisive action to end the Iranian regime's decades of murderous aggression against Americans. And thanks to the Peace Through Strength agenda, we are not just responding, but are winning the process. The regime that chanted death to America is now reeling, its terrorist capabilities shattered, its leadership crippled, and its power fading by the hour. No amount of fake controversy or rooting against America's success will dim that reality. This is a regime for 47 years that killed Marines in the barracks in Beirut, Lebanon, that murdered Americans more recently outside of the 1980s, but just 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, on October 7th of 2023, who have attacked our troops in Iraq during the Persian Gulf War, during Operation Iraqi Freedom, and the War on Terror. And wherever you stand on any of these engagements post-World War II, the proof is in the pudding. The Iranian regime wanted to inflict harm not only on military casualties that are American, but also wreak havoc on our homeland. And those heightened concerns in those hearings on the worldwide terrorist threats, aptly timed, given that DNI Tulsi Gabbard, CIA Director John Ratcliffe, FBI Director Kash Patel, and the entirety of the Department of Justice and the intelligence apparatus and agencies stating that the biggest threat to the homeland right now, homegrown terror, teenagers or even younger being radicalized online and inspired, as we saw attacks on the Reformed Temple in the Detroit, Michigan metro region and on other places of worship. So remain vigilant, look over your shoulder, know where you're going, and demand that your pastor, your place of worship, have a police officer there, not only in the parking lot, but in the narthex and where those gather. So much of that architecture, when you go and visit, it's your backs are against where an enemy or a terrorist threat can enter. It's sad to think in those terms in 2026, but be aware and carry. It's your Second Amendment right to do so, and be sure to protect you and yours as we live in these very trying and dangerous times. On a lighter note, we are anticipating the Commander-in-Chief himself, President Donald John Trump, to present that trophy to the Navy midshipmen just moments away. We'll take a quick commercial break for more sponsorships here on the right side of history, but stick with us as we get ready to take you to the White House.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. Any moment from now, President Trump presenting the Commander-in-Chief Trophy to the Navy midshipmen for their success over Army and the Black Knights last November in that Maryland game that was really a barn burner. What a great season of football we had. Can't wait for the fall classics come this August it'll come up. So the end of summer as the year just keeps going faster and faster. Some sad news as breaking across the channels, Chuck Norris, I believe we have the photos in to show, passing, the legendary martial artist and actor known for Walker, Texas Ranger, and someone who really knew where he stood and told you where he stood. And of course would be willing to break bread with everyone right, left, and center. Really an icon of American fitness and also the silver screen. Our thoughts and prayers with the great Texas Ranger known as Chuck Norris, an honorary number of different things, a black belt as well, who taught us about health and fitness and living a very honorable life. One of the few stories in Hollywood with a very happy marriage and an example that you want your kids to emulate as they grow up in this great country. Someone who loved the red, white, and blue. In a way, a modern John Wayne of sorts. So our thoughts and prayers with the entire Norris family passing away today. Also some other sad stories hitting the channels as well, including a University of Alabama student. And it hits home a bit from the Chicago area as well, passing away in Barcelona, Spain, with a statement from the university on Jimmy Gracie's passing, something that no parent wants to hear. A very sad situation in Barcelona, Spain. Dealing with just being abroad and having gone out enjoying the festivities in what's reported to be a very safe area. Sadly, Jimmy Gracie, suspicion that he was murdered overseas in Spain. So we'll watch all of that. University of Alabama releasing any counseling services for students with that number 205-348-5454. That's 205-348-5454 with the University of Alabama community. And Alabama just facing a number of tragic, sad stories over the course of the calendar year or so, in regards especially to young students. So be sure to talk to your students about just going out, the nightlife, whatever it may be. They feel invincible, but I could tell you just the Alabama students, the Auburn students, some of the best in the country, some of the happiest, most productive, and those who graduate from those two fine institutions and universities give back in so many different ways. And this Chicagoland native, Jimmy Gracie, was on his way to doing that. So our thoughts and prayers with the entire Gracie family as our hearts hurt for any loss of life, but especially that cut short in such a sad way as we grieve with those here at home and those studying abroad. But moments away, we'll have your 45th and 47th Commander-in-Chief with this trophy presentation to some extraordinary students in their own right, the Navy midshipmen. When you go to one of these service-based universities, the 6 of them, they prepare for 6 years of service at least. Many of them go on to be our future generals, admirals, commanders in all the branches. And our football tradition, which brings together the Army, the Navy, and Air Force for this very special competition. The Navy taking on the Black Knights of Army, and the midshipmen successful in this battle dating back to November of last year. So another visit to the White House. We know President Trump loves sports. He loves our students, and I'm sure he'll make a memorable morning of it for these Navy midshipmen who give of their time, their talent, and treasure back to the United States government in enlistment. These are our officers who will be leading many of our fleets, and we'll go right there to the East Room and the President of the United States.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Thank you very much, please. Thank you. I want to begin by just saying we're doing extremely well in Iran. The difference between them and us is they had a Navy 2 weeks ago. They have no Navy anymore. It's all at the bottom of the sea. 58 ships knocked down in 2 days. And we have the greatest Navy anywhere in the world. It's not even close. But we are doing really well. We're not going to let them have nuclear weapons, because if they had them, they'd use them, and we're not going to let that happen. Should have been done a long time ago by other presidents. So it's an honor to be here. This is fun. And these are great athletes standing behind me, great coaches, general managers, great people, and a great superintendent. Hello, superintendent. We only put our finest as these superintendents for these great schools because we don't want to have somebody that they don't look up to. We take our best, and they're really amazing. For the second year in a row, it's my great honor to officially present the Commander-in-Chief's Trophy to the one and only Navy midshipman football team with 11 wins and 2 losses, playing the best teams in football. I used to always think of the military services, they played like a little step below. It's not true. They played the big teams and they beat them. These players achieved one of the most impressive seasons in Navy football history and any football history, frankly. And I just want to congratulate the midshipmen. I met them backstage and they're great. Thank you. Congratulations, everybody. You know, when I mentioned the Navy that we just destroyed, I said, "Are they good ships?" "Yeah, they're great ships." Then I said, "Why didn't we save them? We could have used them ourselves." They said the difference was they didn't know how to use them, right, General? They didn't know how to use them. They had no idea. But I want to recognize Navy Athletic Director Michael Kelly, who has just done an incredible job. Thank you very much. He looks like a Kelly. He's definitely a Kelly, along with head coach Brian Newberry, fantastic coach, Brian. Who's off to the second best start for any football coach in school history. What's second? Who's first? It's pretty good. That must have been a Roger Staubach year, maybe, or something, huh? Because I tell you what, I got to watch Roger Staubach, and he was something. He was like, I have to say, I've said it, and some people were insulted by it, but it was like a man playing with children. He would single-handedly win those games. It was incredible. Thanks as well to your superintendent, Lieutenant General Michael Borg-Schulte, who is an accomplished Navy linebacker, a very good one, back in the day. We're also pleased to be joined by Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. Now, I don't know if Pete's here because I actually told him he had an option, be in the sit room, you know, the famous situation, or be up here. And if it's okay, I told him, but I think he has 2 very beautiful sons up here, to the best, Boone and Jackson. Are you 2 guys? Well, I told your father, just be in the situation room. We're okay with that, right? I think so, right, Coach? Coach, I think you're okay. So Boone and Jackson, someday you'll be on this team maybe, right? Would you be a Navy, Army, Air Force? Which one? Take Navy. Just say Navy, okay. I don't want to get them in trouble. And your father's doing a fantastic job. And also the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Dan Kane. So Dan is unbelievable. And I picked him for a reason because I was told it would take 5 years to beat ISIS by our television generals. You know, there's a big difference between generals, just like there is between coaches and everything else. They said, "Sir, 5 years." And I went to Iraq because I didn't understand why 5 years. And I met this general, and his name was Dan Kane. I said, "What's your name?" He said, "Raisin, sir." I said, "Really, Raisin? What is that?" "Raisin." "Oh, it's just my nickname, sir." "What's your last name?" "Kane." I said, "Your name's Raisin Kane? I love you. You're the guy I'm looking for." And it turned out to be right. So they told me it was going to take 4 to 5 years to knock out ISIS. And now I'm in Iraq. I come down, I meet him, some other generals. He was the boss. And I said, "How long would it take for you to knock out ISIS?" He said, 4 weeks, sir. I said, 4 weeks? They tell me 4 years, maybe 5. He said, "Well, whatever they want, sir. They're the boss. I'm just here. But you can do it in 4 weeks, sir. And you'll have time left over. I said, you got to be kidding. And he explained, and we went through a whole big thing. Well, nobody in this room would be bored by it. Actually, you'd like to hear every word. I'll tell you every word of it. But bottom line, I said, let me go back. But as I'm leaving, it was very interesting. I'm walking down the stairs, long fight. I had to turn off the lights after spending trillions of dollars. You had to turn the lights off in the plane because you didn't want to be spotted by the enemy. This was something. So we land. And he said, sir, would you like to rest for a while before we have a meeting? I said, I don't have to rest. My name's not Biden. I don't want to. I'm not resting. And we had great meetings. And then I got back on the plane. I said to him, so, General, you say 4 weeks. We mean that, right? 4 weeks, sir, and you'll have time left over. He said, I'll call you on Monday when I get back. And I called him. I said, you still feel that way, General? He said, yes, sir. And I let him do it. He did it in less than 4 weeks. He defeated ISIS. It was amazing. What a difference. You know, I always say, what a difference the president makes. The border. They said, it can't be done without Congress. It will take years. We did it in about 3 weeks. We have a border that's now 9 months in a row. Nobody's come into our country illegally. I'm not even sure if that can be right. But the Democrats keep the stats. So they say, I mean, they have 0 people came in through our border. You see it, right? And I said, the president makes a big difference. Well, the generals make a big difference, too. But I told him, I said, Dan, if you don't mind, stay in the Situation Room and you watch all those attacks that we're hitting those guys with, and they don't know what's happening. Their Navy's gone, their Air Force is gone, their anti-aircraft is all gone, it's all gone, their radar is all gone, their leaders are all gone, the next set of leaders are all gone, and the next set of leaders are mostly gone, and now nobody wants to be a leader over there anymore. We're having a hard time. We want to talk to them, and there's nobody to talk to. We have nobody to talk to, and you know what? We like it that way. And we have many other distinguished members of the United States military, but I want to tell you, Hegseth is doing a great job, and Raising Cane is doing a great job, as good as anybody's ever seen. Don't forget, we had Venezuela. That was the beginning where people started to see the talent. I rebuilt the military and built it, frankly, including Space Force, but I rebuilt the military in my first term. I didn't think I'd be using it this much, but I'm glad I rebuilt it because we can't let these lunatics have nuclear weapons because they were going to use them. They'd use them fast. One of the ways you know that is when this whole thing started, they started shooting missiles all over the Middle East at countries that were basically not involved because they wanted to take over the Middle East. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they would have used it. The only question would have been the first hour or the first day. That's the only question. They would have used it. And if they can use a nuclear weapon, the world would have been in big trouble. We had to stop. It should have been done long ago. I also want to thank FCC Chairman Brendan Carr, perhaps the most powerful man in this room. You are doing some job. He's trying to keep the fake news. He's trying to make the fake news real and respected again, which is not an easy job, but you're doing a really amazing job. First time that's happened in 25 years. So I congratulate you and everybody in the room. Everybody in this whole country is watching what you're doing, and we appreciate it. When a man can get elected in a landslide, winning think of it, 7 swing states, win them all. We win the popular vote. We win the Electoral College by a tremendous amount. We win the counties by 82 or 84%. And I got no good press. Think of it. Only one thing. That only means one thing. These people are not respected. They're just not respected, and we have to have a press that's respected. When you can win an election where they say that I got 94% bad press, think of it. The other side got 94% good press. When they can get 94% and you win in a landslide, that means the press is not respected. People have no confidence in. So you're doing a fantastic job. Senators Todd Young and Dan Sullivan, great senators, wherever you may be. You're here someplace. Where are you? Hello, fellas. Good senators. Great guys. And Representatives Ronnie Jackson, White House doctor. He served 3 presidents. He said he had Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of Barack Hussein Obama? You had Obama. I didn't want to talk about Biden, but he said, and you had Bush. You had young Bush, I call him, young Bush. I was not a fan, but that's all right. But the press asked him, who was the healthiest of the three? Dr. Ronnie, stand up, Dr. Ronnie. There's a big deal. Took a lot of heat for this. They said, no, most guys would say, well, we don't want to talk about that. They said, who's the healthiest of the three? He said, President Donald J. Trump by far. If he didn't eat junk food, he'd live to 200 years old, he said. And I love this guy, and he then left and he ran. He was an admiral, and he then left, and he was a White House doctor, a very respected one. He saved a lot of lives. He was a great doctor. People don't realize that. And he then left, and he said, sir, I'd like to run for Congress. I said, you've never done it before. You won't be able to pull it off. In a very, very all-Trump district, there were 28 people running. Man was retiring. He's been there for years. And I said, Ron, I don't know. It's going to be tough, but we'll try it, right? And we got him in. He blew him away. There was one man that was favored. He was a rhino. He was favored to win easily, and we wiped him out, right, Ron? And he's been a congressman. He's one of the most popular people in Congress. But I don't care about that. I just care that he was my doctor, and he said I'm the healthiest human being he's ever. Ronnie, am I healthier than these guys back here? Yes, sir. Oh, thank you. All right. See, this is why I like him. Also with Ronnie is Derek Van Orden, a fantastic guy, and members of the Naval Academy's Board of Visitors. Sean Spicer has gone on to great things, and Walt Nuda. Walt, where's Walt? Walt's become a very famous guy. He works with me, and he does a great job. Great, loyal, incredible person. And Sean Spicer, where's Sean? Where's Sean? Great job, and he's got a very successful television career going. What the hell do I get out of it? Well, you know what I get? Nice statements. That's what I get out of it, right? 100%. It's great. You've done great. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Those are really the people that are very much in charge of making everything work at the Academy. And the other academies, separate groups, a very important position. For the Navy midshipmen, 2025 was truly a season for the ages. You didn't just win the Commander-in-Chief's trophy, you made history as one of the greatest teams to ever wear the proud uniform of Navy football, some uniform. The teams have gotten so good in the schools that I was able to get, and we're pushing it very hard to make it permanent, a military academy deferment policy. So, because you have some people here, you know, when I went on the field and I threw up a coin, I'm standing next to these guys, they were monsters. I said, look at the size of these guys. I thought they were supposed to be smaller. I thought you had sort of restrictions on size, you know? We got rid of that because some of these guys were extremely large. And we have the NFL teams here also. When whoever wins the Super Bowl, they come. The baseball teams, we had the Dodgers, we have them all. But I saw the size of these guys, so I got used to it. And I said, these guys are as big as the NFL. And at one of the visits a while ago, first term, they asked me, they said, sir, we have a hard time recruiting because a player, if he's really good, he can't do the 4 or 5 years in the military service. Could you would like to do a military academy deferment policy? I immediately knew what he meant. And we got it done. And it allows you to defer your service until after your career. So if you go in the NFL for 10 years, so now everyone wants to join. So do I get credit for this successful team then? The superintendent's going to say yes. I don't know about the coach. I don't know about Kelly. But the coach, I think, it made your life a little bit easier. It was tough. It was tough for the teams when they used to have to play guys that were twice their size, right? So they did good. They had better heart. They have the best heart in the business, but size does matter. And so what we did is we got that so you have a deferment, so a lot of people are able to join now, and they do their service later. They're great patriots, but that would be a lot to ask. And I think it's helped your teams really compete at the highest level. The team was led by your incredible senior class, and that includes the co-captain and star quarterback, Blake Horvath, who is fantastic. Where are you, Blake? Wait a minute, you're a player. I was at that game. He's a player. Yeah, but get everything. You can run it, you can throw it. What do you think? NFL material? You have no choice. You have to. Thank you. Stay up here if you want. Look at this guy. He walks up. Most of them just stay there and just, they don't want to. Very good. Look at him. I can't get rid of this. I can't stay there if you want. Come on, stay there. He's a quarterback. What the hell? But he ends his college career as one of the most accurate Navy quarterbacks of all time with an astounding almost 60% completion rate, second only to the man we just spoke about, Roger Staubach, who was unbelievable. He was unbelievable. He served 5 years, and then he came in, and came in at like 27 or something, and he was phenomenal as an NFL player. Likewise, senior wide receiver Eli Haydenreich scorched opposing defenses all year long. They've been writing about him, a lot of stories, setting a school record for receiving touchdowns. And you do need a quarterback for that. Where's Eli? Where's Eli? Come here, Eli. Get over here. Look at the size of this guy. They're all saying he's got NFL. Pretty good. I see by the size of those hands, you have no trouble catching that ball. Come here. Great. Beautiful. And we're going to bring them down to the Oval Office. Nobody else. We don't have room for none of all these big shots that we have here. None of the senators, none of all these people. We're going to bring them down. We're giving them a special medal, a beautiful medal, a very expensive medal that if I see it on eBay tonight, I'll be extremely upset. All right, so we're going to all march down there later. Congratulations. Thank you very much. That's great. Very nice that you say that. The whole team is pointing at you. Are you looking to go NFL if you can?
Yes, sir. I'm hoping to.
Okay, good. Good. That's great. I'll bet you make it. So we have Eli and setting all the school records for receiving touchdowns, earning a spot at the NFL Combine, and cementing himself as, without a doubt, the greatest wide receiver in Navy history. That is not bad. Did you do the Combine?
Yes, sir.
How did you find it? Were you impressed by the athletes?
I was, yes, sir.
Were you as good as them?
I like the.
Were you better? They're all saying they like you. They're all saying he's better. Good. I can see it. We're going to watch, okay? We're watching all you guys. And let's not forget one of the strongest athletes the Navy has ever seen. Oh, this is the guy I want to meet. Who was named a first-team All-American. You can't do better than that. On 5 different organizations. So 5 groups named a first-team All-American. Senior lineman and co-captain Landon Robertson. Where's Landon? Where is he? His arms are like steel. I just hurt my hand. I hit his muscle. It's like steel, man. We're not messing. You think I could take him in a fight? That's like Ronnie. Thank you. Congratulations. That's fantastic. So listen to this about Landon with a 665-pound squat and a 465-pound bench press. What about women playing in men's sports? Think we could have a woman take your position? Is there a woman out there? I don't think so. We're trying to end that. No men. Think of it. No men in women's sports. Maybe I'll put Landon in women's sports for a little while. How ridiculous. I mean, they say that's an 80-20 issue. No. That's a 99% issue. It's amazing. Thank goodness the Democrats keep pushing these things. Open borders, transgender for everybody, and they want to have men playing women's sports. So Landon has some really big records, and he's so strong that the team had to special order a longer barbell. I see, because the barbell would break. That's crazy. Is he the strongest one on the team? Is everyone? Huh? No doubt, with all you big, strong guys. Look at this guy at the end. What do you think, Landon? Look at that. He's a big guy. So thank you very much. We have a lot of fun at these things. I love sports, and I love athletics, and I love competition. And these guys are champions. But perhaps no single player better represents the heart and soul of this team than your 5'9", 174. I love those guys. Those guys that are a little smaller than you're supposed to be, but they have a bigger heart than everybody on the team, right? And the other team, too. 174-pound playmaker who delivered key knockouts and blocks on opponents almost twice his size. Senior Brandon Chapman. Brandon plays selfless, relentless football. I got this from his coach. As he likes to say, quote, here's a quote, "The way I look at it, the fight's not over until I win." That's it, right? Just keep going. And that's really the spirit of the Navy and our great sailors. Where are you, Brandon? They love them. Boy, I tell you, you don't have players like that. You don't win. You just can't win. You need people like Brandon, and they all have that big heart. It's very tough when you get into that elite group. When you beat those schools that are big and powerful, it's a pretty amazing thing. This group of winners opposed and opened the 2025 season with 7 straight victories, including a thrilling win over one of your top rivals. It's always tough, too, Air Force. Coach, Air Force is always tough. What is that? I mean, they're always tough. You beat them, but they always seem to have a good record, and they always seem to do well, right? But no problem with this team, right? What was the score you won by, Coach? Was it a close game or not that close?
I think we won by 3.
1 by 3. You won a couple of close ones, but you won. Doesn't really matter as long as you win, right? So that's great, Coach. But as every Navy football player knows, you don't make it to the White House unless you also triumph over Army on that second Saturday of December, which is the whole deal. I was at that game. It was amazing. It was an amazing game. The spirit, and I have to say, they introduced Trump. The place went crazy. There were no, let's give a little boo. There wasn't a boo in the house. Even the fake news couldn't say. I've gone to games where I would say I got 97%, but there might be one person, boo, boo. They cover that person. They interview that person. That person becomes a star. But they couldn't find any person at that game. That was some game. It was some scene in the historic 126 Army-Navy football game. And again, something I really enjoyed. I love being there. I'll be there. Coach, I'll be there. You got to be back, Coach. We can't ever lose you. You'll be back, right? All right, you better be back. Do whatever you do, Kelly. Get him signed, right? Speaking of that, and you get him signed, all right? But you battled back from a 2-score deficit to draw within 6 points in the fourth quarter. Now, I was there. It was looking not great. It was not looking great. Fellas, you know, I can't say I was rooting for you, but I did want to see that commander-in-chief deal. Is a big deal, right? And it only happens if you win, and it wasn't looking great. With time slipping away, Navy mounted one final drive, and you marched downfield, nearing the goal line after running back Alex Teska broke loose into the secondary, which was amazing, for a huge 24-yard gain. Okay, where's Alex? Where's Alex? I saw Alex before. Oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness. That was fantastic. I watched that because it was not looking good until you did that. After you did that, the momentum shifted, right, Coach? The coach was saying, I don't know, I got a problem, and then he did that. We all felt good. That's great. Congratulations. That's beautiful. That's amazing. So Alex did his job, and he did a fantastic job. But every football player knows, every single one of them, that you don't have heart, you don't have that. You can have all the strength, like Brandon, you can have all the strength you want, but if you don't have heart, that's exactly what Alex showed, and he's another one that's known for that. Then 3 times the formidable Army defense held the line, and they really held it, making it 4th and goal, midshipmen. So it's time to do or die, right, Coach? And with 6 minutes and 37 seconds left on the clock, other teams might have kicked an easy field goal, but that's not this, Coach. Coach, did you have a call? Did you call up the superintendent and talk to him like, what do I do? Or did you just say, let's go for it? I think you said go. I think you just go for it, right, Coach? But not this team with this coach, with the Commander-in-Chief's trophy on the line, which is a big deal. Blake dropped back in the pocket, surveyed the field, delivered a strike across the middle to Eli for a touchdown, and secured victory over Army in one of the most iconic moments in Navy football history. I wouldn't say in Army football history. I guess it was iconic also, but not quite in the same manner. But I watched that. That was incredible. The annual Army-Navy game is truly one of the most special occasions in all of sports. But in recent years, the college football playoff expansion has encroached on this sacred 4-hour time slot traditionally reserved for Army-Navy. So what did I do? I went out. I don't know if I could have pulled it off. I have much more power in my second term, don't you think? What do you think? Would you say, Brendan? Much more power. First term, I don't know if I could have gotten away with this, but what did I do? I went out and said, I'm going to sign an executive order to ensure that the second Saturday in December is preserved exclusively. Nobody's playing football. Not Ohio State against Notre Dame, not LSU against Alabama. Nobody's going to play football for 4 hours during that very special time of the year in December. It's preserved forever for the Army-Navy game. Now, if you don't want to watch football, you don't have to. But if you want to watch football, you're only watching one game. You're not watching 19 different games, all of them in many ways big. So, Coach, that puts a little pressure because the whole world's going to be watching. So nobody else is going to be allowed. Of course, we'll probably get sued at some point. We always get sued. But we win those suits, and we'll win this one. The only game that's going to be played, so we preserve that time, no matter who it is. You're playing the Army-Navy game. It keeps it special. We like it, right? Are you okay with it? Huh? And just simply, we don't want other college football games over, playing over us. And frankly, I'd always watch the Army-Navy game anyway, but you don't know. You get some of these games, they're pretty tough, and pretty good, and they're pretty tough. And they'll be able to play, but they'll play after 7 o'clock, I think. We brought it all the way up to 7 o'clock, so that should give you plenty of time, even if you have a little overtime stuff. So it's great. It's just an honor to do because it's such an important tradition of our country. It's beyond football, actually. It's a tradition of our country. In 2 short months, the 28 seniors on this team will be commissioned as officers in the greatest military the world has ever seen. We have the greatest military in the world, the strongest, the greatest, and we're proving that when you can take Venezuela in a matter of minutes, put somebody on a helicopter that was well guarded with thousands of people with iron doors. Those doors were like plastic. The United States Navy, the Marines, the whole military, we have the greatest in the world. I was so proud of what I did, and I always loved Space Force because that was my baby. That has never happened. That hasn't happened in 81 years, a new force, and it hadn't happened. And I think we all agree that Space Force has become, you think, right, very important to the success that we're having even now. Over the past few weeks, the world has seen the true strength and might of our sailors and aviators as they fought in one of the most complex and successful military operations of all time against the Iranian regime. And it's amazing. It's not, I don't want to get too crazy here. Not a contest. It's not even a contest. They do whatever they want. They can't, they had a lot of great equipment. Russian equipment, Chinese equipment, they had plenty of money. That equipment was useless against us, useless. No force on earth can beat the American sailors or the American military. We're the strongest in the world by far. To those standing behind me who will soon be joining these missions, I say, sail fast, stay strong, and go Navy. And I just want to congratulate again this incredible team on the win of this trophy. It's not often that this trophy gets presented. You have to have a very special year to get it. And I'm going to sign the executive order right now and then invite Coach Newberry up to say a few words and talk about what a great team and what great individuals they are. So, Coach, I'll sign and then you take over, okay? Thank you very much. This is not an auto pen. Can you imagine taking it and say, would you please have this signed? Somehow, I don't know how they got by that, but it didn't work. Let's go. It's a good one. We rate them. That's close to a 10, maybe a 10. See, fellas, so you can see it first. Pretty good, right? Yes, sir. And what I'll do is I'll give these out also. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for signing that executive order, protecting the sanctity of the Army-Navy game. It's a game with a soul, and it deserves to be protected. Thank you very much. Thank you to you and your staff, your gracious hospitality, and for making today's ceremony possible. And thank you to the distinguished guests and everyone in attendance for being here to recognize this team and this exceptional group of young men. On behalf of our players, our staff and their families, our superintendent, General Michael Book-Schulte, and our athletic director, Michael Kelly, it is truly an honor to be here. We're grateful and humbled to be back again. As I shared last year, it's been our goal to return to this stage many times during your tenure, Mr. President. There's no higher honor in our program than standing here representing the Naval Academy, the entire brigade of midshipmen, the Brotherhood, and all the men and women who serve and have served in our Navy and Marine Corps. These young men understand that wearing the Navy uniform comes with a responsibility greater than football. Each day they strive to live up to the core values of honor, courage, and commitment, and the standards of those who came before them. Leaders of character who have gone on to serve our country with distinction. What they accomplished this season is a direct result of that ethos and mindset. The players here on stage and to my left in the audience are some of the very best our country has to offer. In just a little over 2 months, these 28 seniors standing behind me will graduate and commission as officers in our Navy and Marine Corps under your command, Mr. President. They will do so with character, discipline, and the values that define this institution. I also want to recognize our fellow service academies, the United States Army and the United States Air Force. The rivalry we share is among the greatest traditions in college football, but it is grounded in deep and enduring respect, because we know that one day many of these young men may stand shoulder to shoulder in defense of our nation. The Commander-in-Chief's trophy represents the commitment, discipline, teamwork that define the future leaders and warfighters of our armed forces. Every day our players balance the demands of Division I athletics with the responsibility of preparing to serve as officers. That challenge forges the character this trophy represents. In our view, it is the most meaningful and honorable trophy in all of college sports. To our families, alumni, and the countless people who support the Naval Academy, thank you. Your belief in these young men and what this institution stands for makes moments like this possible and special. Mr. President, thank you for hosting us today and for your continued support of the men and women who serve our great country. This time, I'd like to bring our two captains, Landon Robinson and Blake Horvath, up to present you with a couple of gifts.
Great. Thank you.
Well, first, Mr. President, it's just an honor to be here.
Football, this is very heavy.
I know.
You got a strong neck.
Like you said, well, you're the healthiest guy here, so you got the neck to do it. Yes, sir. So just want to say thank you so much for having us here. Absolute honor. And last year, I was hesitant to say it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience, right, because I knew we'd be back this year. So I'm glad I can now say it's a twice-in-a-lifetime experience. And just couldn't have done it without our whole team here, right? Our support staff, from the strength and the trainers to all these guys and all the guys who are still at school right now in class. Thanks to all of them, and just for everybody for supporting us. And, go Navy, beat everybody.
Absolutely. First off, thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity to be here. Blake said most of it, but I'm just so thankful to all my teammates and all my coaches for all the hard work they've put in. It's very hard to go 11-2 in a season, but I couldn't be more proud to play for Navy football, and I couldn't be more proud to represent the United States Naval Academy. So go Navy, beat Army forever.
We're going to see you at the Oval. Now, anybody does not want to go to the Oval, please raise your hand. Okay. I'll see you in the Oval. I had a feeling you were going to do that. Thank you. See you in a couple of minutes, okay? We have something for you. Thank you, everybody, very much. Thank you.
Go Navy, beat Army. Congratulations to the midshipmen of the Naval Academy and truly the finest officers soon to be in the United States Navy, and midshipmen going off to sail the seven seas, and they have been vital in this entire operation. Epic fury that has downed over 58 ships now, as the president mentioned there, of the Iranian naval forces now at the bottom of the sea. We are simply unmatched by air, by sea, and by land if necessary, as we enjoy celebrating that executive order to protect that American game of the Commander-in-Chief Trophy played every November. And last year's was really a barn burner. As we thank you, the viewers here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. We are viewer supported. RSBNetwork.com/donate. Thank you for everything you do to support us. In turn, bringing you unbridled access to the 45th and 47th Commander-in-Chief, the 50th Vice President, the 119th Congress, the First and Second Ladies, and of course, the stories in your neck of the woods. At feedback at rsbn.tv. You can send that over to us for any of those stories. Also, if you wish to send a check or money order, 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344. It's the loveliest village on the plains, Auburn, Alabama, 36830 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama, 36830. Thank you for supporting us on the right side of history. And thank you to our dear friend, Mike Lindell, running for governor of Minnesota. The mattress and topper sale happening right now as low as $99.99 plus free shipping on your entire order. Call today. Do not delay. It's 800-836-7566. Code RSBN. Easy to remember for these great savings. Whether it's the MyPillow 1.0, 2.0, the Giza Dream Sheets, or even those My Slippers to the My Coffee, which I have right here. You can smell it through the bag. I'm ready for a cup of coffee myself. Let's jump on in this Friday morning, as we are very grateful again for mypillow.com/RSBN, all made in America, amazing products. Right now, the mattress and topper sale from the master marketer, as President Trump puts it, Mike Lindell, up there in the great state of Minnesota, going as low as $99.99 with the promo code RSBN plus free shipping on that entire order. 2,000 options at mypillow.com/RSBN. In case there's any breaking news, we'll be right back with you here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, as we had one of the fun ones this Friday, recapping a big week in the nation's capital of Washington, D.C. And just a note, as we saw Navy, and they have fun with the Go Navy, Beat Army, all of the 3 of the 6, the entirety of our services in uniform will be fighting alongside one another in potential future conflicts. So even though the rivalry happens between Army, Air Force, and Navy on the gridiron, we are all one team. That should be our focus as well moving forward in the 2026 midterms. There's a big tent of this MAGA movement. And as I scan the channel, see what's happening on other networks, to what's happening in the podcast universe, let's all remember sticking together against the unholy triumvirate of Islamism to communism and secular humanist thought, the globalists who seek to usurp the authority of our constitutional republic and ultimately upend it. It's important for us to remember that in our neck of the woods with whatever we do in our vocations and wherever we're at in life, as we approach the celebration of 250 years of this great country of ours. There's much more that unites us than divides us. So remember that as we go into these midterm elections. For all of my colleagues here on the right side of history, in case we don't see you, have a wonderful weekend. May God bless you and yours. As God willing, your neck of the woods, the weather is getting warmer. I'm Robert McNeely. It's always a joy to be with you on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Until the next telecast, we'll see you again very soon. Stay safe out there, and God bless you and yours.